Welcome back to Mater and Tater Adventures. I'm Tater, and today's adventure is going to be a little different from what we've been doing. We're going to do a little history. Something I've been wanting to do for a while. Been sitting on this video for, about a year now. And I finally decided, I need to get this done. So we're going to follow the Donner Party through the Wasatch Mountains in northern Utah. And we've already been across most of the Oregon Trail, California Trail, and I've never really gone and followed them all the way through the Wasatch, or even through Nevada, Skull Valley, and all up through there. So we finally got a chance to go do this, and basically, if it's something you might want to try yourself, hopefully this video will help you do it.
So if you plan on doing this, there's 3 pamphlets you should probably pick up. We found them really helpful. One is the National Historic Trails pamphlet, the Utah section. The other one is the Echo Canyon pamphlet. And the third one is the Lincoln Highway pamphlet. Each of these pamphlets contain information about your travel through Echo Canyon, and it has numbered stops in the pamphlet that correspond to numbers that are on signs along the way, and it gives you a lot of information about what happened or what to see at that location. I'll leave a link to these pamphlets in the description below. I'm going to give a little bit of background information on the Donner Party. I'm not going to go into the whole thing. There's a lot of good resources online out there, but I'm just going to kind of give a little bit of information leading up to what happened to them prior to and at Fort Bridger. So for those of you who don't know, the Donner Party was a group of people that left Springfield, Illinois in the spring of 1846 in covered wagons. They were men, women, children, and they were bound for California. What makes their story so much different than any others is what happened to them in the Sierra Mountains, which, like I said, you can look that all up online. I'm not going to go into that. And this picture here is actually immigrants going to Utah, and it's actually supposedly taken in Echo Canyon. So if you do this route, just kind of imagine this picture in your mind when you're traveling down Echo Canyon, what it was like for them when they came down Echo Canyon. So let's talk for a minute about what makes the Donner Party so special. One of the things is, like I said, what happened to them in the Sierras, but another is they were one of the first groups to take what is called Lansford Hastings Cutoff. And it had never been tried before, and nobody had gone across it before except for Lansford Hastings himself, and he'd only done it one time on a horse and pack animals. No one had tried it with wagons yet. So Lansford Hastings was a lawyer from the East who was trying to get the immigrants, to come to California to take up residence there so that they could more or less take California away from Mexico. And his grand ideal was to have a Republic of California, and he was going to be the leader. And so he created this cutoff, Hastings Cutoff, and he was advertising it as being faster and a quicker way to go. And like I said, no one had ever come across this before. He had only done it one time, coming from the west going to the east, and like I said, he had only done it on pack animals. He hadn't done it with wagons and children in tow. So now we'll talk about another character here by the name of James Reed, who was a leader, well, maybe more of an influencer in the Donner Party. I guess he could kind of been the leader. He's the one who kind of put it all together in Springfield, Illinois. And the interesting thing here about him is that when they were at Fort Laramie, that's in Wyoming, back near Nebraska, he was warned by a good friend of his, a gentleman by the name of James Clyman, who had just come across Hastings Cutoff with Hastings himself, coming from California, going east. And he warned James Reed, told him, don't take this new route. Said, I just came across that. You can barely make it with just horses. You're not going to be able to make it with wagons. And told him, just stick to the old road and don't ever leave it. Said, you can barely make it that way. You're most definitely not going to make it going the new route. James Reed, who, if you read journals and some of the journals and stuff about him, he was kind of a headstrong guy. They say he was, a real good friend. He would stick to you, but he was also very headstrong. And he basically told Clyman, no, there's a nigher route. We might as well take it. So now, here's a little tidbit that I found out that I did not know until I started researching this, was that Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president, lived in Springfield, Illinois. He knew both the Donners and the Reeds, and he was pretty good friends with James Reed, because they served together in the Black Hawk Wars. And anyways, I guess James Reed tried to get the Lincolns to go with them to California. And supposedly Abraham Lincoln thought about it, but he was just starting his political career at that time. And it's also thought that maybe his wife said, no, we ain't doing that. So it is thought and said that Abraham Lincoln was in the party of people waving goodbye to the Donners as they pulled out of Springfield, Illinois. So it's kind of interesting to think what would have happened if Abraham Lincoln had gone with the Donners. Well, he probably would not have been our 16th president, and what would have happened with the Civil War, would it had turned out totally different. Very interesting to think about. That's one of the things I like about history, is finding stuff like this and then just seeing how things just intertwine to come out the way they do. It's just fascinating to me. So here we are coming into Fort Bridger, and I suggest that if you're gonna follow the Donner Party through the Wasatch Mountains, you start here at Fort Bridger, because this is where Lansford Hastings Cutoff actually started. The Oregon Trail, California Trail used to come through Fort Bridger, but then it would head north up into Idaho. Lansford Hastings cut off from the trail right here at Fort Bridger. Now the old fort ain't there no more, but there is a replica of it that's back in the back of this complex, and it's said to be sitting on the same location of where the old fort sat. And basically it was described in the journals as just being two old houses with dirt floors, a blacksmith shop, and a corral. And if you go there today, you can actually go back there and see the replica, and that's what it is two buildings, a corral. And it's not that expensive. I think it was like $8 per adult per day or something like that. It wasn't that bad. You'll find a lot of other buildings out there as well. A lot of history transpired in this area. And because Fort Bridger has been in many different hands and many different things at some point in time. The U.S. military had it. The Mormons had it. So it's really an interesting place to go and see some history. And I have to apologize for just having pictures. I did take video with my phone, but somehow, some way, I lost the videos for Fort Bridger, so I apologize. So it was here at Fort Bridger that immigrants would stop and take on supplies, make repairs. James Reed even mentions in his journal that they got some fresh oxen while they were there. But this is also the place where the second warning about Lansford Hastings cutoff arrived. Unfortunately, the Donners never seen that warning. So when the Donners arrived here in July of 1846, they were supposed to meet Lansford Hastings here, and he was supposed to take them through the cutoff. Well, they were a few weeks behind, and so when they arrived here, Lansford Hastings had already taken off with, I think, there was a pack train ahead of them, and maybe one or two other wagon trains. I can't remember. I want to say it was two. But anyways, one of the gentlemen in the pack train, and all a pack train is just horses and mules. There's no wagons. And anyways, one of the gentlemen in the pack train sent a letter back to Fort Bridger warning the immigrants, don't come this way. It says, we're on pack animals and we can barely make it. And matter of fact, one of the wagon groups that was in this advanced parties had actually lost a wagon and a team of oxen that had fallen off a cliff going through the canyon. So when that letter arrived here at Fort Bridger, it's supposed that either Jim Bridger, who the fort is named after, who actually built this fort, either him or his associate Luis Vasquez had hidden the letters from the immigrants because the Oregon Trail was shifting north, and they wanted people to keep coming through Fort Bridger because they got money that way. So they hid the letters because they wanted Lansford Hastings cutoff to work. And so the Donners never seen that warning. And that all happened right here at Fort Bridger. Now the Donners had spent, I think about maybe about 3 or 4 days in this area. They say they camped, according to their journals, they camped about a half a mile just south of the fort.
All right, so that should do it for this video. I'm going to do this in a 3-part series. This part dealing with Fort Bridger. And then the second part will be their travels through Echo Canyon. The third part will be them heading down Weber Canyon and what all transpires after that, which is where they really start getting into trouble as far as time goes. So hope you enjoyed it, and hope you come back for the other 2 parts. And as always, thanks for watching.